Welcome to Andy Ford's Happy Chats, and this week I have the star of CBeebies. He's a legend, the kids love him, and so do the adults. Please welcome Mr. Andy Day. Hello, mate.
Hey, Mr. Andy Ford. You've got a great name, by the way.
Oh, thank you, lover. You're perfect for my happy chat, I have to say, because we worked in Panto together, and you were just the happiest. You love your life, don't you?
Listen, if we did seven Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, if I was going to be one of the dwarfs, I'd be happy.
2, 3, 4. That's enough, isn't it? Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.
But it was a real joy working with you and Warwick, and it was the first time I'd come out of the actual lead comedy role per se and played a different character, Herman, who was still comedic, but it was slightly different. And you came in as Muddles, the part that I normally play. So it was a little bit weird for me. And I have to say, you were just so great on it, and you were keen to learn stuff and that, and you spread your happiness. It was a really happy production, wasn't it?
It was, do you know what? It was one of my favourite productions that we did, actually. And mate, I've got to say, you were absolutely, you were a joy to work with as well, and absolutely hilarious. And I think they swapped the roles. Muddles is usually the comedy character. Yeah. I think you play the comedy, but also you can play the sort of light-hearted kids character. And I think that's more of what I was. I was certainly not the sort of comedy. I more fed you the lines, and you were the comic. Which you did so well, and yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed that. And of course, it was in Bristol as well, because we're Bristol. Well, I'm Bristol based. Are you Bristol based?
No, I live in County Durham now, mate.
Oh, okay.
Newcastle.
Because of the dark side.
Yeah, Michelle, my wife's from the northeast, so we live.
Of course, yeah. Of course, how is Michelle?
Yeah, she's great, man. We were just talking before coming to do this. And I said, do you remember when Andy was quite ill during the Panto and you made him your Mexican soup to help him? Do you remember that, mate?
Do you know what? I do remember that. I was on the toilet for a week. No, I remember it being really delicious, actually. Oh, yeah. That was really sweet. Michelle was so lovely.
And all the spices sort of, when you got a cold, that stuff's great for you.
Now, fantastic.
So now you've got the responsibility of your own family, because you're, you got a little girl, little Ruby.
I have, yeah, of course. No, yeah, I've got a near wife, because we were meant to get married last year, but we didn't. But of course, I wasn't with Kat. I got with Kat the following year. When we finished Panto that year, I actually got with my partner now, Kat.
And right.
It wasn't too long after until we sort of delighted with the news of being pregnant with Ruby, of which she's nearly 3. Can you believe?
Where's that time gone?
I know, it's just so crazy. I mean, I think it's probably gone really fast because of the situation we're in. But yeah, she's a joy, mate. She's an absolute joy.
And is it a head spin for her to see Daddy on the telly, or is that's just normal?
Yeah, I guess it's I get asked this question quite a lot, and I think she probably thinks that everyone's daddy's on the TV, but she particularly is quite funny because she doesn't really make a fuss of it. She watches my programs sometimes, but she has her own favourite programs that she watches, and my next door neighbour's little one loves my programs, and they're like best mates. So when he goes, Andy's adventures and stuff, she then pipes up and goes, oh yes, Daddy's adventure. You know what I mean? That's when I get the attention from her.
Please welcome Daddy's adventures. I love it.
Oh, she's really sweet with it, and I do love it when she watches my programs as well, because I like to see how engaged she is, and also how she relates me to being on the screen, and yeah.
I get the same buzz when my grandkids come to Panto and stuff, you know.
Of course, you want your kids or your grandkids to be proud of you, and you want them to be engaged, and you want them to see what you do. So for me, I'm really lucky because I'm in children's TV. Do you know what I mean? This is the best time for us, and your grandkids and stuff seeing you in Panto, that would be the same.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you always said to me, because we had time to chat in between shows, and we did quite a bit, and I remember you saying to me that you just love entertaining kids. I mean, it's not like that's my job. you love your job. If you were born all over again, you'd do the same thing, right?
I really would, mate. I can't stress enough how lucky and blessed I feel to be in that sector of the industry. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't do anything that's sort of more like sort of older entertainment, anything like that. But for me, my dream was always to do what I do, because I do. I love it. They're an honest audience. There's a lot of silliness. It sort of suits my sort of humour, and all the things that I've been able to do. It's weird, or all the things that I always wanted to do. Anything adventure based, anything with a time machine, singing in a band. I mean, these are all things that I always wanted to do. You sort of, you sort of manifest it subconsciously, I think, and I've been very blessed to be able to do it.
Well, you deserve it all, and I want to just take it back. And can you tell us, how did you audition for it? Did you put forward the idea to the BBC of the programme? Were you approached? How did that all come about, and how long ago was it?
Oh, well, I've been in kids TV for 14 years, so with CBeebies for 14 years.
Wow.
And when the opportunity I'd sort of geared myself towards the kids industry. My show reel was always kids industry based. Do you know what I mean? This is where I wanted to go. I worked for Nick Jr. for a little bit. I did various bits, obviously Panto, and then the audition came up for CBeebies. And there was.
How did you find out about that, man? Where did you find out that the audition?
It was an open audition.
In the stage or what?
Yeah, it was in the stage. It was an open audition. It was funny enough, I got rid of my agent at the time, and I went with a lovely lady who's more sort of commercials and casting agent. Yeah. And it was just to sort of bide my time if I had any sort of adverts come up, just a bit of cash to sort of keep it going. And bless her, she was lovely. She was like. She was like Joey's agent from Friends.
Oh, yeah.
She was like your mum or your nan. She was just really lovely. And she went, Andy, I've got you an audition for CBeebies. And I said, at the time, I'd sent off separately to CBeebies as well. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. And bless her, I thought, okay, well, I need someone to look after me with this. And she was so sweet when I got the job. So there was 2,000 people that went for it.
Wow.
And it got down to 15 people, and it could have been any of us, but it just so happened at the time I was very different to the presenters that were in the house at the time. I was sort of like the tall one, if you like. And because of that, I got the job, and I was very happy about it.
Wow.
I was also nervous about going into the BBC. Then when they took me around, it was my first big TV job.
But you done a bit on Nick Jr., so that you weren't scared to death of cameras for the first time.
No, that's it.
Bedded in gently.
I'd also done some presenting for a program called Cash House for 6 months. It was sort of live. It was one of those. It was one of those programs you're just like, yeah, come on, call us up. You can win £20,000 if you answer this question right. And it was a good training ground actually for just speaking rubbish for half an hour and keeping it going.
As I always say, keep speaking until you've got something to say.
That's this is a very good advice, because that's exactly what I do, and I learned that on that sort of training ground. But for CBeebies, it's obviously very different. It's pre-recorded. It's for children. It was a different kettle of fish. But anyway, so I walked into the BBC, and the agent, bless her, was more nervous than me. And she was going, oh, God, Andy, I'm nervous. And I was like, well, you're meant to be calming me down. I'm nervous as well.
It's a sketch.
Yeah, honestly, it was a sketch. She was so lovely, bless her. But So I got the job, and it was 14 years ago. I started off in the house, and then 4 years later, the brilliant commissioner, that was a guy called Michael Carrington, who was such a lovely guy. I owe him a lot, because he not only gave me my first job, but he also got me into the adventures. He knew.
So what was the first job then? Before you move on from that, the first job
was in the CBeebies house. So so you do the continuity links in the CBeebies house. And then if you're
like lucky, the broom cover sort of thing,
like the broom cover for preschool. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So basically, I got the call. They said, look, the Adventures program was meant to be Max's Wild Adventures and was meant to be an animated character. It was pitched as an animated character that goes through all this fantastic footage that was filmed with David Attenborough and Blue Planet, Planet Earth, and all that.
Because it was BBC.
But Michael Carrington, for BBC, Michael Carrington basically said, "Well, I'll commission this if you do it as a live action, and I want Andy to play the main role." So, I completely owe, the whole brand to him. Is just great, and because he knew I'd pitched lots of things. I was very hungry to be doing my own show, and I'd pitched lots of things in front of him, and I think he knew, because I was in front of him so much, he knew that I was hungry to do it, and he knew what kind of person I was, and it just suited me down to the ground. I was a big fan of natural history stuff, and a big passion about that. So yeah, and then it went. That was 2011. We did the pilot. 2012, the program went out because we filmed not only the pilot, but we filmed the whole series in 2011.
Well, that's a bit of faith in you, mate.
Yeah, there we go. And it's not stopped since, and it's just been a fantastic program to do, albeit on green screen, so I don't actually see any of these things.
I was just going to say to that, I don't think it is, well, it's a bit of a spoiler alert, but then again, dinosaurs don't exist now, so it would be difficult to go on location with them. So here's my next question, because it's filmed green screen and I love my video editing. And when I watch your programs, I think, the quality is unbelievable. You can do anything. So they film you, and then they put you into the scene or whatever, and you were directed. I assume you told where to look and where to point, etc. But when you do that, you're by yourself. So does that mean you've been able to film during the lockdown as it kept rolling?
Yeah. So when the first lockdown hit, we had to stop. But then when they sort of eased the restrictions to a certain degree, but it was still lockdown. But it meant I was able to, as long as they adhered to the social distancing and stuff, I was able to carry on, because you're absolutely right. It's just me on green screen. They can separate me. I did my own makeup and all that jazz.
Did you film it at home? Did you film it at home or in the studio?
Oh, no, yeah, it has to be done in the studio because it's all green screen. And it's filmed like a drama. It's filmed like a drama, and so it's, so you've got your script. You've also got, your DOP. You've got your VFX. DOP. Director of photography. So it's your cameraman, but the one with the vision of how it's going to look. And I've got to say, and this is a big credit, the way this looks, the program, how good it looks, is a big credit to the DOP and the VFX team. And of course the director as well. But the VFX team have just upped it each time. Like they build the CGI sort of safari mobile, or they even made a CGI dinosaur at one point when we were filming Dinosaur Adventures. The DOP likes it, because if you imagine anyone at home, you'll know this, but anyone at home that doesn't understand it quite, they'll take the footage from, say, Blue Planet or Walking with Dinosaurs, and the lighting in the footage they have to match, obviously. Yeah. So it was always a tricky one, because of course you're taking bits from each program to make the story work. And you might find that the sun is on this side on one shot, but then it's on the other side in the next shot. So the camera DOP would have set up for the shot to be like this, and in the very next shot, so you'd have to maybe flip the shot so the sun was on the same side, so the lighting is the same. Does that make sense? Yeah,
of course. But technically, but it looks so cinematic, mate. It's so well thought through, and to get a story out of that footage, the hours it must take for them to come up with this.
Yes, so they have a set of writers and set of editors, and I think that how it goes is that usually the writers will sit in the room and brainstorm, and sometimes I'm a part of that as well, a part of the sort of creative input.
Oh, are you? You're allowed to put input into it?
Yeah, very much so, especially as we've gone on as well. Our producer, Mark Jones, who's lovely, he always sort of tries to involve me if I want to be involved. There's not really a budget for that to be happening, but But if I want to be involved, and I always do, because
you care
eager,
about it, right?
Well, I care about
That's
it.
why it works, is because you committed when you were pushing to get the job in the first place, and you just want your program to get better and better, and it's your passion, I'm sure, that drives it.
Well, do you know what I've got to say, Andy? Everyone is passionate about that project.
Right.
So we all sort of feed each other. And especially the VFX team, Fred, there's a guy called Fred who's the head of VFX. He's been on it since the very beginning. He ups it every time. Mark Jones, the director, everyone who's on board really goes for it. And yeah, it's filmed in a very filmic way as well. And I think the thing that I love about the show so much is that it's not only engaging for kids, but I've heard a lot from parents as well. They're happy to sit in front of it and they'll learn from it. And it's really engaging and interesting for them to see as well. And that for me is, I'm all about, and I know you'll be the same, all about family entertainment. I'm all about being able to sit your kid in front of the TV and you enjoy it as well. Because we all know how painful it is when you're sitting your kid in front of a program that you don't want to watch. So yeah,
doing some research for today, I've watched, because I live away from my grandkids, and even my grandkids are getting older now. So CBeebies is not on in our household perhaps as much as some, but I did watch a bit just to see, and it's evolved so much, mate. I mean, it was always good, but now it's, I mean, where do you go with it? What's the next stage for you?
Well, this is it. It's the team are always trying to up it and up it and up it. And there's talks about new shows and new ideas. And I think we'll just see. We'll see, you know.
And also interesting, as you know, none of us can stop the ravages of time, but makeup helps. But I mean, we're all getting older and older. So maybe at some stage you have
and his old man adventures.
Yeah, well, you have a youngster with you, to that can present,
take over the reins
on, sort of Indiana Jones and the Kitty. I don't know, but it just seems like at the moment you look about 23, but
well, I'm only 24.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. That you'll do this forever, won't you?
Until I can, mate. I will do it until I can, for sure. But of course, I'm quite busy with the band as well, which is for me a bit of a progression in terms of the audience range, actually.
Right. Well, just as we're getting into that then, because I had a question about that, because when we were in Panto together in Bristol, you had an album that you were selling at the time, and I didn't know that you were doing the music thing. Did Andy and the Odd Socks come out of ideas for songs? And it's about anti-bullying. So did you ever take towards that, or did they come to you?
No, so Andy and the Odd Socks, the whole concept, the whole idea came from the album of songs that we had written. So that's where, because we were really passionate about the songs we had written for the album, and there were such great characters, not to blow our own trumpets, but we heard this from, the kids as well. They really loved it, and the parents. And again, we created it as a family sort of album. But the characters was really brought out the idea for the band, really.
Right. So songs, it's people from different walks of life with different abilities and stuff. Was that the concept?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it wasn't written for anything other than to be fun, funny, and good music for both kids and parents to listen to. The whole anti-bullying aspect of it came from the fact that we realised from the album, some of the songs, the characters in those songs, the message that sort of comes out of anti-bullying, they would relate really well to it. So that's how we teamed up with the Anti-Bullying Alliance.
Hello, we're the Odd Socks. But we've got something to say to you kids out there. If the kids kids are united, then we'll never be divided. If the kids are united, then we'll never be divided.
We wanted to do something with the Anti-Bullying Alliance, within anti-bullying within schools anyway. And the Anti-Bullying Alliance is one of the biggest alliances of anti-bullying charities that's out there. And so they wanted to reach the kids that I reach in my programs, which is sort of the primary school age, from like your 2s up to your 10s, if you like. And so we both created Odd Socks Day, which came from the band's name and in the Odd Socks. And the Odd Socks, obviously, the sort of message behind wearing odd socks is that we're all different and all individual, and we should be proud of that. And so that's how it all came about. The music didn't start with us thinking that in mind. They just came from the songs. The idea of getting involved in anti-bullying came from the songs, really.
Did you put the group together, Andy? Was it your idea, the concept of the group, and did you write most of the songs to start with?
Not just mine, but I wrote the songs with a couple of music producers who are great friends and part of the Odd Socks team. And so we have all carried on. We found the band. The story goes like this, basically. I had a dream. The gods of rock came to me in this dream. They said to me, "You must start a band." And so I did, went out, found all the characters, and that's how it all come about. And do you know what, mate? We've not looked back. They're great band, such a talented bunch of musicians and great guys. And we have an absolute crack when we're filming our series, when we're writing more music, when we're doing our live stuff. It's just such a great project. I love it. I just wish we could be doing it at the moment.
I was just going to say, I bet you can't wait to get back to the live gigging. I know I can.
Oh, literally cannot wait. What are you doing? What have you been doing? Because you're such a creative person, and that you must be kind of like, well, this is obviously one of your projects, but you must be like, itching to get out there.
I've got to do stuff. I have to do stuff. And I did, when the first lockdown started last year, I did live Sunday night stand-up shows on Facebook at 8 o'clock, about 40 minutes each week. And I did 10 weeks non-stop.
Can I ask, how did you find that? Because as a comedian, it must have been difficult, because a lot of it is to do with audience feedback. And also, not only that, I think things also, and you'll know this more than me, the sort of science behind comedy, when you're in the right place, that can really help the comedy, like the right atmosphere. So how did you
self-belief, mate? You just have to believe you're funny and hold it for a while, a couple of looks to camera. I mean, luckily I've done a bit of TV, so I know, how to hold it to camera and then come back. So it was good. I did 10 weeks and didn't repeat a gag. So
that's good.
Yeah, and then I did a variety show because I thought there were different acts at home who were desperate for people to say. I mean, we love to be watched, don't we? So a load of people sent their videos to me, and I put variety shows together. And now we're back in it again. I thought, we need some happiness, and that's why I came up with the idea of just happy chats. Yeah, we come through stuff. That's what I was going to say to you about the Odd Socks idea. Were you bullied as a kiddie then? Or where did the whole idea of, I can line up with that, because it's obviously it is important, but did that happen to you personally? And you sort of won the day to come out of it?
No, for me, the passion lies with seeing other friends and other people, how bullying as a kid affected them growing up as adults.
Right.
And the confidence levels and the self-belief. I think it's really tough, especially I find in men, actually. I mean, it's really tough. Men that have, and lots of us do, have real self-belief sort of issues, can create all kinds of problems. And I think when someone's bullied, it's a traumatic time as a kid, because you're trying to discover who you are, who you fit in with, and And if you're bullied, then that sort of trauma can really take you into your adult life and become a problem. And I think that's where it stemmed from. Also, it's, you know, it's just not nice. It's, you know, it's not nice for the parents because they've got to go through it emotionally. It's a reflection of the bully,
isn't it? Sorry, mate. It's a reflection of the bully that they would do that they're not in a happy place to impart that onto someone else.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're severely bullied, like physically and mentally, and also it's really important you recognise what bullying is, you know, because I think some kids will be like, "Oh, I'm being bullied," when actually you've had a bit of chat from a little un who is probably, you know, if it's a girl or if it's a boy, they might even fancy them. Do you know what I mean?
All that.
You've got to be able to recognise what bullying is, and I think
it goes on and on when it happens for too long.
It's when it's continuous. It's when it's continuous, and it's when it's the intent is there, and it's when it's really cause and effect. It's when you're saying, please don't do that, and you're carrying on doing it, you know, and it's physical and it's mental. I mean, I had a friend, a very good friend of mine, and she told me recently, she said, "Well, I love what you guys are doing, but I was severely bullied as a kid." And I said, in what way? She said, this girl used to beat her up, like in primary school to secondary school. I used to beat her up on a weekly basis. Or not just beat up, but emotionally sort of really target her. She must have had lots going on at home. You know, my friend, she's very attractive. She's really sweet, very bright. And she just took it out on her. And to the point of she left her school, and this girl found the school that she left to go to try and find her after school to bully her even more. Do you know, it was really, really quite severe. And you can tell it had such an effect on her growing up. You can tell because she's really, really talented, really, really lovely, beautiful.
Did she lose self-confidence because of it?
Yeah, but it's lost self-confidence, yeah.
But there's two sides of that, isn't there? The person that's been bullied has to deal with it and find a way to break through. But the bully has probably more issues in a way.
Well, it usually stems from that, you know. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I'm sort of learning more and more as we're part of being with the Anti-Bullying Alliance. And you know, of course, it stems from frustrations, lack of understanding emotion at home, projecting onto kids at school, and people at school, and it's, of course, it usually always comes from that, and it's just really...
Sorry, mate, go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, in a way, it's a search for happiness, because if the bully bullies someone and makes them feel better about themselves, they're finding a weak form of happiness there at the expense of someone else. So maybe they've got to find a way to make themselves happy that doesn't impact other people negatively, and that's easier said than done, isn't it?
Well, of course, man. I mean, we're very complicated. Human beings are very, very complicated. It's not black and white. It's very, very grey. There's lots that have gone on. Funny enough, I'm about to film, do a radio podcast, a good read. It's on Radio 4. I don't know if you've listened to it. It's great. It's like sort of like book club, if you like. And you choose a book, the guest chooses a book, and the presenter chooses a book. And you all read it and you all discuss it. Funny enough, the book that I've chosen is a book called Dibs. And not to go into much detail, but it's about a young boy, and especially as this is happy chat, but it's sort of understanding what you're saying. You know, kids are trying to be happy. They're trying to understand themselves, and it's more confusion and lack of understanding on how to work their emotions than anything else. It's about this little kid. It's about this psychotherapist who is the pioneer of play therapy. It's an old book, and she does a detailed sort of story on this little boy called Dibs, who was 5 years old, very, very quiet, would lash out and attack kids at school. And she, but was very, very intelligent. And she does a series of therapy sessions, and she tapes them and she talks about them and then she explains them. And it's just so interesting to learn about psychology in this book, because a lot of it is down to how the parents deal with the little boy. And this play therapy really brings him out and makes him understand his emotions and goes forward. So I think there is a lot of what you say, the bully and the bullied have got the issues, you know what I mean? And the one who is bringing the issues to the bullied, the victim, is projecting all that onto them. Obviously there's lots of different scenarios, but generally about, that sort of bullying scenario. And it's causing them pain because they're lashing out and they don't understand.
It's just maybe an odd pursuit of their perceived happiness, what they think they need, when basically happiness is quite a natural thing. You shouldn't have to fight for happiness. Happiness should be, I'm going a little bit Buddhist here for some reason, but happiness is being able to look out this window past your very attractive head and see how beautiful the countryside is, and that makes me feel happy. So it is everywhere. You just
hang on, Andy, hang on. Oh. You're looking past my attractive head. Surely the happiness would come from seeing this.
And so I could possibly edit that. So actually,
no, that's exactly it.
Happiness is everything.
Happiness it's a state of mind, isn't it? It's moment. Happiness is momentary. If you want a sort of constant, dare I say, happiness, or a constant sort of balance, to be Buddhist as well, a constant sort of balanced way of looking at things, then it's, for me, I find it's finding meaning and purpose. And if you find that, then you're not projecting all your stuff out into other people. You've got that purpose, you've got that meaning, you stand strong with it, and that brings happiness in itself as well. Look at us going all...
I know. I'm just thinking, I'm hearing happiness now because I just heard the door open, which means Michelle's letting the boys out into the garden. I got 2 doggies, 2 shih tzus, and they make me smile. Do you remember Stan and Ollie? They were at the theatre.
I do remember Stan and Ollie, man. I love their names as well. That is a perfect example. I think over lockdown, loads of people got more dogs because, they cheer people up, don't they? Dogs are great. Absolutely great.
They've got no... they've got no plans. They just, oh, you love me, that's fantastic. Is that food? Wow, come on, life's so good. Anyway, talking of happy, and to wrap this all up, to me, you are happiness. And what's it like living there in what I assume is your happy place with your lovely cat and your fabulous Ruby? Every day, I suppose you wake up and think, I'm Andy Day from television, and I've got a fantastic woman to live with and a most beautiful child. Life's pretty good. You can vary that if you like, but I would imagine.
You know what, mate? When I wake up and I think that, I absolutely do feel very happy, very blessed. Good. And my little girl brings a lot of happiness into our house, without a doubt. And my wife-to-be is just a dream to live with. I can't say I sit up and I'm happy every day, because I'm not.
No, we all have our moments.
Yeah, but for me, the things that have made me happy during lockdown are Kat, my little girl, having the time to see her grow up, doing exercise, that's really made me happy.
And these workouts, I've seen them, awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, what, the wild workouts?
Yeah.
You know what? When we filmed that was about a few years ago when we filmed that. It actually came from it was my idea to do it, because it actually came from an idea from a dad online who went, you should do what that Joe Wicks does, but with animals. And I was like, you've got something there. I'm going to nick that. And I pitched it to the BBC for them to do as another sort of Andy Brand.
It's great.
So we did it. I was
saw
really
you
unfit
jumping
at the
like
time
a
as well.
gazelle this morning, and you did it fabulously. I'm glad there was no lion tracking you, because you'd have never got away. But yeah, it's entertaining and it's fun, and everyone can watch.
Yeah, I think the things that do well are the things that are useful, and I think Andy's Wild Workouts have been useful in lockdown for the little ones that maybe can't cope with Joe Wicks or any other sort of fitness program that's on TV. So, and lots of schools have got involved in it, and I'm really pleased. I'm really, really pleased that they've got something that they can use, and that the program's being used as well.
It's wonderful what you do, and to know that you feel as good about it as the people that watch it. I mean, talk about share the love. Andy Day, thank you so much for joining me on Happy Chat. You've always been one of my favourite mates, and I loved working with you, and I love watching you, and I've loved chatting with you. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Love to your family. Thanks, Andy.
Lots of love, mate. And tell Michelle, please, to send us over some of that Mexican stuff.
Will do.